Speaking of the Heister Automotive Group hotline, we need to talk to our very own Dennis Cox, who we have locked up from Phoenix. Dennis, good to see you. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
We'll start the same way we started yesterday. Vibe check. Yesterday you said NC State was still the same they've been. As it gets closer, it's going to become more and more difficult. Are they still pulling that off?
So one thing that Kevin Keats talked about yesterday in his press availability, he said they wanted to treat yesterday like 50-50, like have fun and also business, right? Because you don't want to be like mentally tax your guys out, 2 days away from a game. So he made sure before practice yesterday that it was, hey, bring your phones out, take pictures on the floor, on the court, all that kind of stuff. Go ahead and let's get that out of the way. So that was part of yesterday. Today was a little bit more like what he wanted to be was 75% business, 25% fun. So you could tell they're a little bit more locked in. Now, granted, our press availability was before practice today. Yesterday was after practice. So we got a chance to see the vibe before the guys were actually going out onto the floor. But their practice today was unlike any other because they let fans in for free. And there were several thousand fans, across all the teams, even just not even fans of the four teams that are actually here. I saw people wearing like Marquette T-shirts and things like that.
Hey, they booked the flights. They booked the flights optimistically.
Clearly, like, you know what, we're still going to go. But they also had the NC State band was performing. All this was taking place during practice. Like media, we were allowed to be courtside. I was standing right there baseline during warm-ups for NC State today. But you could tell even with all that stuff going on around them on the court in that area, they were 100% locked in.
It's interesting. I saw a quote. We have the clip of Fletcher Lawyer from Purdue saying that they're trying to treat it like any other game. You're in the middle of the circus. You're baseline during practice. Is it possible to treat it like any other game because the circus around it and everything has to make it feel different?
It does, and this is unlike anything these guys really have ever experienced before. I understand the mentality of treating it like every other game in terms of like how you approach on the floor, in terms of we still got to execute what we do offense, defensively, game plan, all those kinds of things. We can blah 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 regarding that. But in terms of everything else, I actually remember I was walked by Jaden Taylor yesterday. This is after our locker room availability. We got to talk to players, and he was getting taken like two other places. Like, man, they got you running around everywhere. He said something I couldn't say, but it's like, man, it. It's just he kind of like, man, they really are getting us around to all these different places. Whether they're talking with CNN, whether they're talking with CBS, TNT, Sirius XM, all these other different outlets want to talk to everybody as much as possible. So yeah, it's a little bit more than treating it like any other game outside of the game itself. But when it comes to the game itself, yeah, you still got to execute and go do like you would. It was the Elite Eight or Sweet 16.
I just don't see like a mid-January game against Florida State. It just you don't have that. You know what I mean?
It's not the same.
Exactly.
Not the same.
It's not. Dennis Cox, our very own from 99.9 The Fan, out in Phoenix for the Final Four, talking with us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. Can you compare and contrast the two teams based on their approach? Like when you're in the locker room, is it different, or is there's something to be said for every like 19 to 23-year-old kind of being similar? But is there a difference that stands out to you between the two teams getting ready?
I would say this. I'm a little bit more slanted, I guess, when it comes to NC State because having been around the team multiple times throughout the season, so I kind of understand who they are as a team and as individuals with some of them. So I would say they were themselves. When the Purdue locker room when I went in there yesterday was very much like, we're here to do business, we're here to do work, we're here to take care of business, but also here to prove people wrong because we got knocked out by a 16 seed in Fairleigh Dickinson last year. We feel like we're supposed to be in this place. We have something to prove. Whereas NC State, they still have that mindset of, no, we still have something to prove. Like, yeah, we've won 9 straight to get here. That doesn't mean we're guaranteed to win 10 and 11. That's the thing. So they still have that chip on their shoulder. I know Casey Morsell was actually asked earlier today about, like, do you embrace the, like, underdog mentality? He's like, no, we're just doing our thing. Like, we're just being us. Not, buying into, like, the underdog type thing. It's like we get the national story, we get it, but we're just out here to be us. And I think that's just kind of the vibe that they've had really this entire season. It's like, you know what, we're just going to try and be ourselves. But, yeah, Purdue's locker room was a little bit more buttoned up, it felt like yesterday.
It does. There's something funny about the fact that the two teams that have very much taken on the everybody doubts us are the 2 1 seeds. Like Purdue and UConn are all this disrespect. Alabama and NC State, who or the lower seeds and maybe have a better argument for it seem to just be like in their own bubble playing basketball.
Yeah, it's amazing how like a reigning champion who's a 1 seed is quote unquote disrespected. I was like, no, like you're the betting favorite by everybody, and a lot of people, including your bracket, the pick to win the whole thing.
Yep.
I'm like, I don't see where it's disrespect comes in. It's like the Kansas City Chiefs for being like, yeah, people doubted us. Like, no, they didn't.
Or Zach Edey, like nobody wanted me when he went to one of the best prep schools in the country and he's 7'4". It's
like, and you're the Big Ten Player of the Year and all. I'm like no. Like people wanted you. It's not like these guys were walk-ons and all of a sudden you're making this run. But like Purdue, people are catching flack, or they're going to catch a little flack because of what happened last year.
Fairly
no different than
Dickinson.
Virginia in 2019 when they lost to UMBC the year before. It's like, yeah, but you still lost that game last year, and then they found the redemption story to Virginia and won a national championship. So maybe Purdue's walking down that same path 5 years later. But the quote unquote disrespect, I don't know. I don't see it.
By the way, that UMBC drop may be a little tease for the coach we have coming up next here in a couple minutes.
That's right.
You know what day it is? It's Friday. We do bold predictions. We'll put you on the spot here.
Oh,
give us a bold prediction for the state Purdue game.
Oh, real bold prediction.
Real bold, and Graham, feel free to give him the buzzer or the bell if you want to.
Mohamed Diarra blocks Zach Edey twice.
Ooh, I like that. And how many times? This is like the flip side of that coin. How many times does he get called for a foul trying to block Zach Edey?
Oh, probably 3.
Okay, all right,
probably 3. Let's be honest here.
He doesn't. Mo Diarra does not back down, and I respect that about him.
Yeah.
Dennis, we appreciate it. We'll maybe check back in with you later in the show.
Absolutely.
Cool. Dennis Cox. Follow him on Twitter @TheFanRookie. He is out in Phoenix. You can also follow 99.9 The Fan on Twitter and everything else. Our contingent out there will be posting throughout the weekend.